discussion of proposed.
There's three. You just probably break if her and I get into a fist fight.
Right.
I mean, debate.
Okay, let's talk. What we got in mind?
Was there an actual proposal? Is that why that says that?
Do we have to? I don't remember that, but
It's really your
possibly.
that's just how I worded it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, some ideas?
Justin, go ahead. You start.
The 2026 cost of living raise is estimated at 2.75% for 2026. So I can't.
That's down from last year a little bit.
I think so. Well, there was discussion between 2.5 and 2.8, and I think a lot of places erred on the side of the high side and some went the other. But 2026 is an estimation of 2.75. So I think that's the same idea. They're just splitting that difference, kind of thing. Jason and I kind of spoke briefly. It's hard to give a merit raise based on something that you don't do, haven't done, and there's really not a metrics that the PD has been given. It'd be different if I said, okay, Jake, I want X amount of pullovers per month, subsequent to X amount of tickets written. I want these quotas hidden, to be hit, and we could grade you based on that. Since we don't have any criteria other than the fact that you work the hours you're supposed to work, you patrol, you keep your training and certifications up, don't shoot anybody unless they deserve it. That's kind of, what else would you base that on? As far as Tim and Roy and Renee, it's such a volatile position. It changes from day to day. You can't grade Tim and say, okay, Tim, what did you accomplish? Well, I don't know what you mean, because either he's doing line locates or he's putting out fires or there's a storm that would take him away from something, and vice versa, the same thing with Roy. So again, not giving someone production standards is really puts you in a bind on merit-based raises. And I just doesn't make any sense to me to do that. You asked me to start, that's my start.
Well, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I know that we're going to have to figure something out. And I think honestly, if we're going to do it, we're going to have to maybe separate a little bit here as far as our town employees, and then on the other hand, we've got our police officers. So I think that's probably going to be two different raises the way I'm looking at it. If we agree on giving raises. So I know last year was a big hump. It was a big jump, but we felt like,
the reasoning behind it.
yeah. Oh yeah, we do. We do. I just think that's the way we're kind of going to have to go. What are you thinking? Do you think, which we all know the police officers have gotten a few raises and a few bumps here and there, whatever, throughout the year. And we just kind of got to figure out how we're going to do this.
Yeah.
So what's your real idea? Do you have any idea or anything you'd want to do or say, or other than what you've done?
I like again, without being able to grade them on a performance bracket system or criteria, I think you just give a cost of living. If we're going to do it, I think a cost of living raise across the board. They all get the same percentage, and their raise amounts will change based on what their base pay is. Like instead of saying, okay, hey, you get $1,000, you get $1,000, and you get $1,000. Well, he makes 30 grand a year and you make 90 grand a year. That's not the same raise.
Right.
So if we kind of go back to that, you just cost of living raise across the board and walk out kind of idea. That's what I would do. There was some talk about 7% again. I think that was a misunderstanding from last year's meeting. I use that as an example of what Jasonville was going to do. By no means do I think or agree that we should do 7 1 year and follow it with another 7.
No, well, we can't.
I just can't fathom that in my mind. But yeah, That's the way I would do it. I mean, I don't think Reenie's raise in my mind should be any different than Jeremy's raise.
Right.
You know, or that Roy's raise should be any different than, you know, Tim or Reenie. They all do different positions. Again, you can't grade them. You know, you came to work, you worked your shifts, you don't call in sick a bunch, you don't, break stuff, you know. Municipal employees are really tough to do stuff like that on.
Yeah. Yep.
Everywhere
Do you
I've ever
agree with
worked,
him that the average, the 275, you want to do 2.8, you want to do 3?
I think anywhere between 2.5 and 2.75 is appropriate. If we start tipping the scales at 3, then, we got to start looking at, funding and how we're going to appropriate and what does that look like next year if we go from 3 back down to 2.5, and then you got a Y and blah, blah, blah. So just as a baseline, that's what I would think. Yeah.
Go to the 2.5, don't bump it up any higher.
When you start high, it doesn't give you anywhere to grow to.
Go to stay low.
Kind of max yourself out.
That's to be one the way that it is.
Well, I know that is,
Yeah.
something we all are gonna have to deal with like very soon.
At some point, we're going to max out.
I just don't think that splitting it like this is the year to do that. Like if you're saying the low side's 2.5, stay at low side. Especially like anything above that, I think you're getting into like fiscally irresponsible since we really don't know the impact yet and we won't know until next year. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I do believe at some point, based on position, that raises are going to end up. I mean, I got maxed out where I worked at before I started my own company. They looked at me and they're like, "You're awesome. We can't pay you more than this. Your position and your branch doesn't support more than that." So it's fine. It's fine. I took my max salary and chilled for a few years before I left there. That was fine. So I mean, I know that does happen, and I don't want to see us. Here's a chunk. Oops, sorry. You have nowhere to grow now. We have no way to tell you we appreciate you with raises anymore because we maxed you out 3 years ago. That kind of thing. So that is something to
And that's
consider
kind of what happened
as
last
we get
year.
into it.
What do you guys agree on then? No, that's.
Do you like the
entertain
2.5 and
Well, my thought was maybe a little higher, but now that I've heard what you've been saying, it really makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, I was
mean-
thinking the whole time higher also for sure, but then Jake reminded us of SB1.
Right.
Where the taxes are getting lower, so there's not gonna be near as much income coming in, so.
without
But we just don't know what all that looks like yet.
without knowing what that looks like?
We know what it looks like for the park.
And that's all we really know just yet, isn't it?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
And that was simply the plus and the blow. I think we're gonna see a hitting on top of that. Would you agree, Matt? To at least a line somewhere.
the property tax anyway.
Yeah.
The other, I think it's anybody's guess what they're gonna do with income tax. I think they got 2 or 3 years to try to figure it out, I guess.
I know there are large sums of money going into lobbying to get them to leave income tax alone. And we're not gonna see the effect of that until 28.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because when I first started hearing about SB1, it was, we were going to see it 26, and then we're going to hold it to 27. Now I'm hearing 28.
It is 28. You will see them
28.
budgeting to show the effect in 27. So they will budget for it in 27, but you won't see the actual hit until 28. And I think that you're going to see, apparently there's a lot of lawmakers that are like, we've done too much here. So I think you're going to see a change come to the lit issue myself. But SB1 still with the property tax itself. I mean, that's a kick in the teeth.
That's, I mean, I'd make a motion to go 2.5%.
All right, do I have a motion
Right.
to approve a 2.5% across the board, employee raise.
I'd make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I will second it.
All
Yeah,
in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Number 2 on here is discussion of potential purchase of property. And I believe that is a Dane's building that he talked about.
Yeah.
And if we wanted to discuss that any further. I hadn't heard that he's went less than 80,000. Or that he's lowered it anymore.
I haven't either.
Well, I'll just buy it for 80.
The,
What'd you say?
I'll buy it for 80.
The 30,000 we were gonna have to spend with NDOT for moving that manhole has went away for sure, right? 30 or 40,000, whatever it was.
And you did get that email from Tim to confirm that? Or Tim had the email or something like that? He wasn't here?
I got the email.
You got the email, okay.
That's one to think about. I just wanted to bring it up during this meeting and we can talk about it at
Well, I asked,
November.
when we had the open discussion on it before, I asked Tim to do a cost analysis on the build out to what they felt like it was gonna take to insulate it, wire it, plumb it, fixtures, drywall, ceilings, whatever that was gonna look like. Has he turned anything like that into the office?
He just asked me about it the other day and he didn't. But that's not something that has to be done right away either. It's just we have an opportunity at a decent price of a brand new building. So I think that was,
I don't begrudge the price of the building and having it. My problem is we're gonna go 16 grand down to buy it, $507 a month for the next 20 years on it. I'm just telling you, it's gonna cost another 30 grand to put into it to make it a usable, other than an uninsulated shell, you know?
I'll get with Tim, see if we can get something together and he can either present or email all of us before the next meeting.
Yeah, I think there's it's definitely more to discuss there. And then do we take that estimated expense and ask him to divide out what him and Roy are going to do as far as portion of the build out versus how much of it will sub out and what that expense looks like versus, because I know there's some things that we just don't have the equipment or availability to do. If we spray foam that building, open or close cell against that steel, that's not something we can do in house. That's $8 grand, $10,000 to spray foam the inside of that sucker.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just that alone. You know, the little stupid things are,
Financing's the biggest concern for me.
so how much do we put back into that? And that 16,000 goes up and that monthly payment goes up. What does that look like?
I mean, you're gonna try to get a loan off of it? Is that what you're gonna try to do?
Yeah, I had one. I had it at the last meeting. We talked about it, but I don't have it with me today. I can't remember what the payment
We
was.
have
And that was based off of the 85.
Maybe three.
Right.
One of those is ending. Yeah. Our last payment on the black car is next year.
Good. I'm sure I don't have that many car payments again.
It's a funny thing because county pays cash. County just gets the money, then they pay. To me, this is sort of dangerous, the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
I have no,
We don't want to get paymented to death.
that's what we're.
Right.
And we
Exactly.
were talking about the increase. This is a side thing. It's gonna increase $5. There's no way around it. There's nowhere.
Oh,
You
the sewer,
approved it. You as a board approved.
100%, yeah. We're gonna be at $80 on that.
If you want to come back on it, you're gonna have to go.
I know.
You and me and Brian voted not to.
Right.
I've got the ordinance. It's got signatures. I'm not saying I like it or don't like it, but they showed you on the way group, this is what you have to do to be able to keep up.
Yeah, and the reason you didn't know that, I just figured it out the other day. Rennie was the one that had the meeting with us. Because
But-
you were out of town.
Well, the thing is, if you sign the ordinance, the only way you can break it is get another.
Yeah,
That's the only way.
exactly.
Any-
Anyways, a couple other things to bring up to date. Parks, I know Jake installed his cameras down at the park, but the park has voted to have HICOM install cameras so that the park board can view. We're doing the same at the dump. Him and Roy want to be able to view what's going on down there and who's dumping what.
Okay.
So I've already approved that to be done. Feel like there was something else.
Community crossings.
Oh, yeah. That's this one here, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we all need to sign this.
Mhm.
You do have that.
If you want to explain it, because you know more about it.
Here. There's a paper in there to
We signed
sign.
up for Community crossing grant, I think it's an 80-20 match. We matched 20%. Like when they did the roads around town,
Mhm.
the town had to pay 140 maybe.
Yeah, I remember that on the
The
budget.
state paid 600 and some.
Mm.
This time with what we had left and we went over what should be done. There's really not much driving around like Aaron and Brian did before, because there's only so many roads that need it.
Right.
He asked me what I thought. I said, I know West Street we get complaints about that all the time. that runs in front of the senior center. The senior,
A lot of traffic up there.
well, that and someone had mentioned, of course, it was probably my cow, that the percentage of voters is most right in that area. And I thought, well, yeah, or if you look at density, that's probably about right, or awful close. But even at that, he sent me the picture of the green that were done, and the ones that could be added. And I asked the guys if there was anything else, and they just mentioned one in front of Nathan Booth's shop. Other than that,
And the estimate was 40,000 out of town budget.
around 40 some. 40, 45.
And that's our portion of agreed to pay.
Yeah, to finish that off.
In restricted, we have like 60, 65. You really can't use it for anything else hardly.
Because I honestly think that's more important than purchase of a building.
I mean, your infrastructure has to continue.
Yes.
You can't let infrastructure fail.
So that part's okay.
You need that there.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm still going with the gun, try to get it done by tomorrow sometime. To him and then to the NDOT, and then all the social stuff. So,
That would probably start next spring.
yeah, what did it start? This last time, did it start in June or July? I don't think it started like in real early spring, but when they got it started on, they moved pretty fast.
Mhm.
E and B, I think, Steve.
Oh,
You want to vote on
this,
that resolution?
Do we
Yeah.
vote on it since we signed it?
On the new one, here you go.
I think that's good, but well,
I guess I was thinking the signature is your vote, but whatever.
do I have a motion to approve the resolution for the continuing of paving down streets?
I'll make a motion to the resolution to have all the, well, hopefully all the rest, maybe not, but
Remainder.
sidewalks done in the town of Worthington.
I have a second.
Second.
Everybody in favor, say
Aye.
aye.
And on that building property, I mean, if we do the loan thing, we just need to make sure that we're adding in the cost of the build out into it. So see what that would look like.
we need
As long as
to
the-
about that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not a good idea by no means. We just, like you said, where that gets appropriated from, and then what's that look like when we add the build out into it? What does that change the down payment to, or the monthly expense? If we up the monthly expense a little bit, can we shorten our term? Lessen the overall burden of interest, something like that. Be some questions to be concerned about.
Yep.
I'd like to, you guys have these in front of you? No, it's me? Okay, just me. So we look at funding, we look at labor. I can give them my copies.
I'll give them.
Okay. These are the hour breakdown for the fiscal current year for Roy and Tim right now as an example, and it's their comp hours. So we pay comp hours time and a half. Okay. So something was mentioned last year during our raise meeting that why do we have 2 street department guys full time, but yet we pay 131 hours of overtime to this one and 100 and what to that one, 129 hours of overtime to that one. So when we look at fiscal responsibility and places that I've been affiliated with, if you have funding and things like that, and you need to appropriate money certain places, what are we really paying our overtime for? Or is it necessary? And then outside of that, is there a different way to pay that out? So we gave, I don't want to say we gave an option where I was from. It wasn't really an option. It was like, you can have nothing. We can handle it this way. So if something comes up like Tim and Roy's, you can guarantee they're going to have to pick up hours because they have weekend numbers to run on all your lift stations and all whatnot. I guess they call that the numbers. They got to run numbers. What do they call that? Is that what you know? Yeah, something like that.
I see them doing it. I don't know what they call
That's
it.
what they call it.
That's the thing. So they're getting numbers, but it
Right.
guarantees they're going to work Saturday and Sunday. And I think they do it in some sort of a planned rotation. So you can pretty well bank that's going to happen. So rather than paying them that time and a half, we could comp them with time off instead. If you work, what is the lift station example? Lift station 5. There were 4 hours of overtime. for Roy at some point, he could allocate that to a half a day off rather than paying him time and a half for that. Is that an idea or something that can be done?
You have to pay that out. If
You have to pay that out.
If he has
Why?
what we call 4 hours, then it's comp times time and a half. So if I pay him 4 hours out, if you say take so much time off, you gotta give him 6. If that's time and a half.
Okay.
Or just paying the time and a half for those 4 hours, either way.
Okay.
If you know what I mean. He's gotta be paid that one way or the other.
So, but what I'm looking at is are there, you gotta start with something, small things, baseline
Yeah, I was
ideas
just
to
explaining.
lessen the
Yeah,
burden, because with SB1, we gotta start looking at how do you lessen the financial burden and hits.
Yeah, I'm just telling
So
you,
if-
it's not hour per hour.
Okay. So if Roy works 4 hours overtime, he's given 6 to bank.
Which makes
And
sense.
sometime within that year, if they're considered overtime hours, you spend them within that year. As if Roy wants to add another day to a vacation day and he gets 2 days instead of 1, and he only had to burn 1 vacation day because he had overtime hours to do, then that's fine, but that's straight time in the sense of hours versus double or time and a half in the sense of extra pay on top of. So what would be the financial benefit or burden of doing it that way?
Of course, comp time is work time, so they have to be paid for it, one way or the other. Either get it this time off or pay it out. The salary, not salary, but since the handbook's basically a mirror of the counties, or was. And I know, because I know who voted for it, and I know who started it. Did this thing where you can't get more than 80 through the year. And you have to pay it down to 40 by the end of the year. You can carry 40.
Can't carry more than
And
40.
that was, we had several go over 80. And by the nature of the beast, both these guys are gonna go over. Snowstorms don't pick through the week to do, all that good stuff. So that was like a lot of Tim's stuff. But if you want to do something like what you're talking about, we need to change that salary, not salary. Need to change the handbook on what it words. Because that's one thing it talks about 80 and 40, and someone will say, well, I can still keep 40. I don't have to take that. So, I mean, you need to get a delegation thing, like if you want to change it, I haven't been able to get a hold of her, Darla down here, and show the changes you want to make. And then get it in an ordinance that you have to have an ordinance to change that.
Sure.
So if you do that, and I don't know how they would do the fact that you say, well, because they're allowed to pay it out, they can get paid out anytime. If they wanted to got 150 hours, they want to pay it out right now, nothing I can do about it. But if you want to say you need to take this as off time, then we need to figure out how are they gonna be able to stay on top of everything they need to stay on top of if you're forcing them to take it instead of just paying for it. So there's little things you need to look at.
Well, yeah.
But it's definitely your call, definitely. But you just can't do, the 80-40 thing. They have the right to do that because it's in the, if you want to change that, just take that out with the caveat that it's really better and it's your call, but hey, you just need to take it. And
So the 80-40 is they can't not supposed to accumulate more than 80 in a
well, the
year.
problem
They can
is-
only have 40 paid out.
No, it's not 80 through the year, because if you did that, roads wouldn't get cleared off. It's the idea of 80 at one time. That's why Roy had some paid out. And I've been talking to Tim, he'll get it paid out before the end of the year. Just 80 at any one time. And it's not a fast and sure thing, like on a county level.
You can't bank or hold more than 80.
That's what they say they want until you pay it out. That's either if you say, well, you're up to 80, let's say you're up to 90, you're getting to be 100, you need to take some time off. Sure, they'll be good with that. But if one thing you can't do is not pay. They'll never get by me.
No.
But
I'm not
on the
insinuating it's
idea-
good.
On the idea of the other, you just need to figure out how you want to do that. Like I said, the law never stops them from getting paid out.
Right.
There's nothing to stop them from doing that. But if you say, we want you to take the time off, then of course you gotta be careful. So okay, I'll take 3 weeks, I mean, not that you would even prove that, but if you see what I'm saying. So they have to get paid it one way or the other. If you do it through work and take time off, but they also get, other thing about, and I think it's great, but not just their 10 vacation days. Next year, Tim goes up to 15, but they also can carry 8 personal days from one year to the next, I believe it's 8. So if they had 14 to begin with and they've used 6, whatever the rate would be next year, if it is, I don't know what the number is, you add 8 right to it. And they keep moving on that. So, I mean, they have, what I mean to say is they have a lot of time to take off. We had one employee, they had 3 family members die. And you get so many bereavement days per that.
Yep.
So if those things happen, I mean, there's just, you just gotta fill your gaps, you know. However you want to do it. And we were looking, you know, when you look at what I was showing, did this for Dustin this afternoon, but just look at like Tim, you know, he's got 129 right now. Well, that's actually what he's earned this year. I didn't give you the running total. It's a little more than that. But for what he's done this year, you know, 80 and a half hours of that 129 has been on things other than the exact sewer thing. He gets calls for the 811, what the
Line locate.
emergency locate dig thing. He comes in and that, and then he spent 20 some hours on maybe, or I guess 35 and a half in the Coyote that one time. We had a couple of good sized snows and then the flood. So, I mean, it's a balance.
Right.
But yeah, if you want to make that more clear in the way you're talking about it, I'd just say get an ordinance and change the handbook a little bit, maybe tweak it.
Right.
A little more, you know, because you are their boss.
I just feel like there's, if any business is being run and you're about to add another payment or buy another asset or something like that, something's got to give somewhere. In a business, you just work more, you earn more, and you continue to drive your business. Well, we don't get to just earn more here as a township or a municipality. The money that we bring in is the money that we bring in. We don't get to all of a sudden,
It's not a full profit.
yeah, we don't get 100 new taxpayers every year to grow this business. So we've got to figure out a way to manage the money within the means in which we've given. And if that means trying to figure out little smaller things that we can chip away at, I just feel like overtime is low hanging fruit. In the world I'm from, overtime is low hanging fruit. You can eliminate that or come up with a different way for it to pay out. Not that I wouldn't want to pay it out, but does it have to be paid out in the manner in which we're doing currently? Can it not be paid out with, you get, you know, you work 4 hours of overtime, you get 6 hours of comp time to be used as time off, not to be paid out necessarily at time and a half.
That would, you really want to check on that.
You'd have to figure out how, if that's even
kosher.
possible. Yeah, is it even possible?
Right.
Because
exactly.
we're a municipality, and there's certain rules that we have to govern under too.
Oh,
Okay.
So do you remember when we redone the employee handbook?
When?
Do you remember us doing it in 20?
Yes.
Are you on yet?
No. I don't think so.
So when we done that, we were dealing with a comp issue and like we were seeing where we were paying comp out of PS Lit because we didn't have the available funds in general fund because general fund was tanking. And what we done is and I think it's in there, and you guys know it. We just control, like we manage it on the front end instead of trying to pay it out on the back end.
How do you mean that? How do you manage it on the front end rather than paying it out on the back end?
So their schedule is Mondays, they work an 8-hour shift. And then they work 12 the rest. So literally their shift lands 80 over 2 weeks. So we just adjust one day down so that they're not accruing it crazy. And then once they hit, is it 36 hours? I think 3 days, like they force a day off. Like they're forced off a day, so it maintains that at a low level. That's how we done it to maintain it at PD. But ours isn't paid out time and a half.
Right.
We're considered exempt. So that's how we adjusted it whenever we redone it the last time.
Yeah, if it was hour for hour, it'd be a lot easier to manage it that way.
I think it's a good idea, though. I think it's something we'll probably look into changing.
The logistics of it is it's something to look at. You know, if we start with that and you know, again, just low hanging fruit. If anybody has any other ideas or things like that, because when this SB1 comes in, I would like to have some things that we've already proactively done. And the general fund is actually healthy rather than continuing to chip away at it. And then we react to it when the 2028 numbers come up and we're like looking around each other, like, what are we going to do now? So the proactiveness we've got, they're blessing us with a couple of years of, hey, get ready. You don't know what's happening, but get ready for what is. Just if we can grab some of the low hanging fruit and go ahead and get it lined out, ordinances changed and written in, then we're already there. One of the other things, moving on to something else, again, just figuring out the logistics of that might be worth talking about. But the next thing would be how we operate our town's mosquito service. I've mentioned it to Matt. I am
Good. Got it.
absolutely against the way we do it currently. One, just the feasibility and functionality of it, but I get that we're checking a box. But we average about $12,000 a year for that service for the town. $12,000 a year isn't really anything to sneeze at. I mean, that's a chunk of money, year after year, and those things don't go down. Okay, so when a new contract is written, when the old one's up, it's going to go up. Okay, rarely will you see a service like that. Oh, hey, we'll just take 5% off for you. It's not how that goes. Heck, that's not how it goes if I did it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Just to be clear to everybody, I don't want that. But they've already voided their contract with us this year, so we don't have to continue with them. That is a phone call cancellation if we choose to do that. I believe that's a service we should be doing in-house. And we can do it because if you work for the municipality, so technically Kim could do it. Okay, Matt could do it technically. You probably have to sign a thing basically saying that you understand that we're not, conflict of interest. But my point to that is if we have a town employee that we deem fit to do it, they don't have to be licensed and certified like I do. Because if you hire me to do it, and I wasn't on the board, the test and stuff and certification you have to do it it's a pay. And it's the reason that we pay so much, because it's not a test just anybody can go pass. I let mine lapse 2018 because I'm like, I'm not taking that test again. I don't need that. Okay. But like Tim or Roy, for example, could do that service under the umbrella of our township municipality without being licensed, as long as they follow the chemical label and are responsibly doing it. And the state chemist doesn't get word that we're not. There's nothing the state chemist will do. And I've checked with the head of the state chemist to make sure I was right on that. The equipment to do it, if we started out with something used, a few $1,000s or less. The product to do probably 2 seasons worth, $2 or $3 grand. So the first year starting out, we've already cut what we're paying
Money.
the current company in half. Okay, and once you have the equipment, then you have the equipment. Talking about maintenance and upkeep from there. So then you're saving 3/4 of what we're currently being charged year after year. Okay, and it's, like I said, if we can elevate someone's pay structure, because you're dealing with a hazardous product, you're having to do it after hours. So if we tweak that in some way, playing the overtime hour thing, we don't want someone to work their 40-hour week and then go out for 2 hours once a week, adding more overtime. That's not the goal. It would be, hey, if you're scheduled to do this service, then you take 2 hours off on Friday, go home early, enjoy a longer weekend or something to compensate you for making the loops through town. Some of the other things I have issue with is we don't control when it starts, when it ends. If you want more than one application a week, we don't control any of those things.
Right.
We're at their mercy to that. And they're not apt to change their minds or help us out in any way. You had a lady say that they basically just blew past her and she was trying to say, can you not spray in this area?
Right.
That's tough. Even if they did stop and talk to her, that's a tough thing to do, because then by the time you shut that machine off back here and stop spraying, and then you pass her property and pick up over here,
Right.
who did you deny
Mhm.
that coverage to for that one person?
Right.
If he's got grandbabies and stuff out there and his neighbor doesn't want it sprayed, well, guess what? That machine and the way it drifts, they're going to have to stop that machine 2, 3, 4 houses before you
Right.
cross over the neighbor and then keep going, right? So you're denying public health and safety to neighbors because you have an issue with it. That's tough. But the fact that they didn't stop, there wasn't a discussion for that, again, proves that we're at their mercy. I don't really care for that. But if, one of our people were to do it, we can control more of that. Instead of driving 30 miles an hour up the roadways, we should be driving up and down alleyways, corridors,
Oh, yeah.
making the loop around the ball fields and stuff.
Never.
And
That never
and
happens.
That never
No.
happens. now.
Never.
Doesn't happen. Because I followed them for
And it
fun,
should.
just to see, because I'm curious. I don't.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want it, but I like to educate myself on what's going on out there.
Mhm.
And it's about as lackluster as you could just about imagine.
Yeah.
If you go over to Linton and watch their guys do it, dude, they got it going on. People the guy that they have set up and the machine they have set up to do it, never seen anything like it.
Hmm.
Awesome, absolutely awesome. So
Definitely the council's purview.
yeah, I think we should look at, can we get a machine? Would one of our street department people be willing to do it?
That's the first question.
And I've kind of breached that subject, and I think we have that covered. Which one of them would want to, but I know Roy's like, yeah, I don't have an issue doing that. It's not that big a deal, whatever. He was just kind of,
And
whatever.
he's right here.
He's like, whatever, we
Yeah.
can do a better job and we can
Yeah.
control it in-house. Because in peak seasons, we get it Wednesday. Well, what if we got it Monday and Thursday? Because we control it. Okay. What if we have a festival or an event coming on? Wouldn't it be nice the day before, the morning of, or 2 days prior to make that loop, tweak the schedule slightly, or at least in the high focus areas, we control it. And I use some of these things as an example because Sanborn does their own in-house. I do the city, but they do their own mosquito service. And they have a gator. They drive up and down every alleyway, side street, dead end, the parks, the ball fields. That dude does a good job. And that machine's older than I am. And they still do it.
We definitely have time to talk about the ideas and.
That's why I
figure out
reach
how
it
to move
now
forward
and not
with
in
it.
April.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because we're under the gun in April. This year, the reason I say that we're void is because our contract says that at the beginning of April. They didn't show up till almost May. I've got 30 some odd residential mosquito customers that I didn't wait till May. I called the state chemist because they told Matt, oh no, what did they say? Was the excuse that they gave for not coming those three weeks or something? I know I'm being recorded, but it was complete BS. It doesn't exist. So I called up there to talk to George Saxon, state chemist, and he's like, that's
They
not a
had to
thing.
put out traps and see how many they caught and stuff like that.
George's like, that's not a thing. No, you can do that and monitor. That's not a thing. And I was like, okay. So he's like, yeah, it's exactly what you think it is. I'm like, I appreciate it. Thank you. So again, they voided the contract by not showing up under the terms of the time frame in which that they stated they would. So really the rest of the remaining balance of that contract is null and void. It really only goes through 2026 anyway, if I'm remembering it correctly. I think it was 24, 25, and 26.
Three-year contract.
Three. So we really only have 26 on it. But again, that is another $12,000+ we're going to spend on what is lackluster. 2, we can't control, so on and so forth. All the points I've already brought up.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
just another piece of low hanging. That's all I have today.
Great. Anything else?
The only thing I had is the amount of complaints that I receive, one being with the police department. Jake and I have talked about it. So you're paid to do 40 hours in Worthington. Let's do that. I understand you got to do a transport every now and then. Go, somebody's fighting a ticket. But to do our time here where you're being paid from.
What's the complaint that during their shift they're patrolling elsewhere?
I think it's the lack of anybody patrolling in-town streets.
When did they start?
Who start?
No, when did the complaint start?
Before we hired Caleb. But it's an ongoing
Did
complaint.
they carry on while Caleb was here?
It got better. And this is even from my own paying attention to what's going on.
So-
Whether it's a Friday evening and I drive by on the golf cart and there's 3 police vehicles behind town hall, pretty sure nobody's on duty.
I mean,
But if there's one missing and I'm not seeing them, then there's a chance they're not working in Worthington.
that's
So that being said, because it's easier to see these guys not working, but your car needs to be marked. Decals ordered. That's a lot of complaints too.
that it's an unmarked car.
Yes.
We can do that.
You guys have a problem with any of that?
Mm-mm. Nope.
Losing a benefit by having all cars marked and not having the ability to have an unmarked car. There are massive benefits to unmarked cars, especially in small towns. And you miss that. I don't care to mark it. That's why we had the discussion early on. I had intended to not mark it, but if you want to mark it, that's perfectly
Yes,
fine.
please.
You can do that. It's
Think
not a
so.
problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So my questions on that are though, because like I can see whenever they're not, like they're taking calls outside of town, they're not in town. But you said it was better when Caleb was here.
When he first started, and I think you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, we're doing 410s. So every evening, it was either the truck or the black Explorer.
Right, but it's no different. Even whenever we switched from 410s, we're actually working more hours. So they were still out. Even when Caleb was here, like these guys tell me anytime they leave town. So, quite literally anytime, like he had to go help with a guy that barricaded in a house earlier. And I had a text message, I think, before they even broke town limits. So, I can understand after Caleb's been gone, you're gonna see the cars parked. But,
No, I know.
and that would.
It's not just me. It's the citizens.
How do
So-
how do you change your hours from 410s to whatever it is now and you work more hours, but you still control the hours worked to 80 every 2 weeks? How do they do more hours than that? How does that math?
I was saying like hours of coverage,
Oh.
those cars being out, they're working every other than Monday is a 12-hour shift.
Okay.
That's what I'm getting at, yeah. So. Yeah,
And you're still doing 7 till or 6 till
Yeah.
2 or something.
Generally it runs later than that, yeah.
And then Jeremy overlaps you.
All right. Got anything else?
Nothing for me.
We would expect hopefully potentially by December 1st-ish. Our patrolling visibility will increase, obviously.
We still get paid to go to court, right?
Yes.
They said that about that, by traffic.
Okay.
I mean, that's police work. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, if somebody's fighting a ticket that you've written them, you got to go to court. So,
Okay, that's what I thought you were
Yeah.
saying, you didn't want to get that.
well, yeah, of course.
The big discussion has been primarily trying to keep within
This
the town of Worthington pays you as a police officer for the town of Worthington. Do that as much as feasibly possible.
The city about CS and stuff, so. It's kind of an age-old thing, but yeah. But then you gotta go against the amount of gas you're burning while you're patrolling as opposed to park and.
Well, I do know I've heard a few complaints on this, and y'all probably seen it on Facebook about seeing our police vehicle at Walmart, and one of the officers was in Walmart. Okay. And when I talked to the person, I said, they're possibly in there doing work shopping. Maybe they needed to go in, to look at something for the police or whatever.
Kind of the other side of having one unmarked car, because you could use that car for those kind of things and not get those.
That's true.
But in the instance you're talking about, that also was on call. So that's the one thing that you have to keep in mind too, like.
Yeah.
If we're going to continue the on call, we are always gonna get a Worthington officer to respond. Like you gotta lock that guy down for his 3-day stretch,
Right.
or you're gonna be like, hey, yeah, go there, but be able to respond. And in that situation, anytime they're on call, they're able to respond. I'm perfectly happy with taking the on call away.
Right.
But you also have to look at like what the complaint is that's coming in. And then the other side of that too is like, when you get the complaint, time, day, date, all this stuff, and like that needs to be taken into account. And like I've said, since I've started, call me when it happens. Like the day you saw the car parked, you could have very easily called.
I didn't, it didn't come from me. I didn't hear it,
Yeah.
or I didn't see it. I just was told, and like I said, it was public knowledge right on Facebook, and they had texted me and was blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just,
I can give you an actual educated response to give them instead of.
I did try to call you 3 nights ago, never a call back.
To this number?
Well, to your number, I believe, but it got taken care of. So I was calling you for something. but I'm not even positive now why. But it got taken care of. You know, at this age, it kind of goes right over the head sometimes.
Yeah, I didn't have a single missed phone call. So, did you call from your number?
From what number? Mine? Yeah.
Your number? Yeah,
Yeah.
if you call from anybody else's number, you're
Yeah,
gonna.
because usually you're right back.
Yeah, so I didn't. Yeah, I didn't.
Well, I think it was maybe Saturday. It probably was the weekend.
I-
But
it
anyway.
still came through. Anyway, yeah, like.
Yeah.
Just like the instance when you seen the car there, Jason, like, you could have been, like, if you'd have called me and be like, hey, the car's there, is anybody working? I don't care to answer answer.
Oh, I know.
It very well could have been, I don't know what day it was. There's only been one Friday when we haven't had somebody working. And that was the Friday that Caleb no call, no show. So, and that's since Caleb's been on. Could have very easily been the car was parked because they were inside the police department.
I get that.
So that's the other side of that too. Like, we've not had very many laps in coverage, especially even since Caleb left. Caleb kind of blindsided us and no call, no show the last weekend. But other than that, the only days that we haven't had coverage was 3 out of the last 16. So like the coverage has been there. Like the fact that we're driving by and see it.
In Worthington though, that's, I think,
Yeah,
what a lot of the point
yeah,
is.
these are all shifts covered in Worthington.
Okay.
Chandler stepped up, Austin stepped up, Jeremy's broke off of his normal schedule. Everything's broken around to make sure the coverage is there. So the guys are all doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, I know that there was comments made where board members that work in town say they never seen me, but at the same time they're saying they weren't seeing me. I was keeping a log of every single time that I waved at them in town, but yet the comments were still being made that they weren't seeing. So, I mean,
I see you. You burp your horn at me and be a little every time.
so
And thank you, Jeremy and Trey. I'll tell him next time I'm seeing
Yeah,
him
he's been
for the
making-
Halloween bash. I thought that turned out great.
Oh, yeah. That'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
Trey's been coming in and working on Sundays as well. So like everybody's still doing their part. So it's to hear the idea that people think that they're not. That's why I'd love to know, like when you get the time and date, let me know because I'll more than happy to tell you, yeah, nobody's working. But the only time that's happened is when he dipped out on us. So
Well, and your vehicles are all low jacked is not the right word, but don't you have a little thing that you can see the path that they drive or whatever? Didn't we discuss that at one point?
we talked about doing ABL, but it was going to be like 8 or 9 grand plus a yearly subscription, and that's just ridiculous.
Never mind.
So
Because I thought, well, how great would that be? You know, citizen calls in and says, hey, you know, Jeremy hasn't been in his truck all day long. Actually, he's driven blah, blah, blah miles during this time to this time. And if would you like a screenshot of the map with the purple line that he's been driving in town? That would just be so great. It's not to the tune of that kind of fun.
ABL is pretty wild.
You just need a life 360 of like I do my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, 95% of the complaints that come in, like a simple phone call, and you get an actual true answer, not an assumption. Assumptions make ass out of everybody. All an app.
There's always going to be one. Always remember that.
There's always someone who's not gonna be happy.
That's- Amen to that
I mean,
one.
you have 1,800 people in this town,
Yeah.
town and surrounding area. Something like that. What's the number? Matt?
With a little less than 15, I believe.
Less than 1,400.
Less than 14.
Yeah.
Used to be over 15 or something.
You guys good? Have a
We're
motion
good.
To adjourn.
Yes, I
Have
will
a
move
second?
to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
What do you want to know what I told my wife? But I don't quit asking me how long.
If you ask how long it's
Got the
gonna be,
kids.
it's gonna be long.